we have a Doona cover. And by the buttons, I can only assume that it's a heritage brand. And I am very grateful to these designers because the opening on this particular Doona cover is just one on top of the other. I've already prepped it, I've already stretched it out with my fingers. There is a little bit of unraveling that we'll need to do in certain areas, but it's going to be a much easier Doona opening than most others. A really good start to these sessions. We have a waffle weave on the top and we have a poplin or a broadcloth on the bottom, and I've already folded it in half lengthwise. I'm going to take my corners, throw my left corner away. Oh, don't worry about the bottom part, and drag that material up so that I get a close enough 90-degree angle. Whether this actually does line up or not is yet to be seen as we continue. The whole point though is, obviously, the poplin and the waffle weave underneath are going to be stretching at different levels at different times. So always give it a nice little waft of water before you start. There we go. What I'm doing is a little snap and a drop and drag technique, and then back in here so that I can have my placement just where I want it. Once I've got my corner organized, my iron can land on it, my fingers will go in between, and as I stretch, much of the unraveling will happen by itself, especially if I focus on stretching the stitches rather than the fabric. So my pressure points are at the stitch rather than on the side, and moving it up. At certain points, you may need to do both sides and actually do the underneath first, and then add the top. But in this particular case, we seem to be doing quite well. Now, as you're going, although this one won't need it as much, it's a good idea when you're doing your Doona openings to always do up your buttons as you're going. And because we want to also have a nice finish on the underneath, which is in fact going to be our presentation side, we're going to do what we call a little accordion move. So I've gotten my fabric here, I'm going to bring it back, hang on to it, come back and drag. Now I'm doing this in quite slow motion so that you can understand exactly what the techniques are. Once you understand what your fingers need to do, then you can move through it quite quickly. So I've done the bottom layer, and that's pretty much what you need to do with most cases, and we'll get other types of videos happening as well with different examples. So as you're going here and there, do up your buttons and try to stretch both the top and the bottom layer evenly. So we're going to go and do another accordion move now. So grab both the top layer and the fold, lift it up, come back, drag them both up, and as you can see, I hope, you're getting a nice finish here, which gives you much more control over this huge amount of fabric. Plus also as you're going, your left hand's over there, your right hand's over there, and you can stretch that material out nicely and therefore be able to reset the Doona back into its original shape. And unless you can actually stretch the stitches and stretch the opening like this, you will have a very difficult time in organizing the rest of the large fabric, in making it nice and even, aligning it, so to speak. So all of that stretching actually aligns the Doona, or helps you align the Doona as you continue, until you come to the very corner. You can always stretch back And now we'll be ready to do the next part, which is taking my hand through to the half, joining those two up. And we've just done our opening, and we'll be ready to move on to the next section.